Almost done with the first quarter of the year, and I'm pretty sure that you failed to hit about 90% of your goals in the year 2025. If you want to go to the gym and get a six-pack, you want to make $100,000 a month, and maybe you even want to buy your dream car this year. You know what the truth or the reality of that actually is? Unfortunately, you won't. And listen, I'm saying this in the most polite way possible and from the deepest part of my heart. Unfortunately, you won't. Unless you know these 7 principles I'm about to give to you today, you'll be stuck in that rabbit hole that you call self-improvement, in which deep down you know full well that you're not improving anything in your life unless you disappear for good. Let's picture this scenario. Imagine a woman being represented as a crown. In the throne room where that crown is kept, on top of the throne, there are about 50 men that are competing for just that one crown. And remember, that one crown is that woman in which you, specifically, you want. There are men who come into that throne room weaponless. These are the people who decide not to walk. There are men who come into that throne room with sticks. These are the people who started walking in their late 30s. And also there are men who come into that throne room with knives and swords. These are the people who started walking in their early 30s. There are men who come into that throne room with guns and dynamite. These are the people who started walking from their late 20s. You, or I specifically, I want to be that guy that comes into that throne room with a freaking armor tank. Now with one press of the button, I wipe everybody out. And literally that was why I started walking my out as early as 18 years of age. Now these are the 7 principles that I'm going to give you, that if you disappear and add them specifically to your life, 2025 will finally be your year as you have always expected. But yeah, sure, you have a right to click out of this video and say, nah, this is not what I want, or this is, one of those guys who want to make sure they hold my retention span. And I mean, if that is what you're thinking, you're correct. I'm trying to hold your retention span. Well, for those of you that are willing to listen to me and willing to disappear in the next 6 months, I assure you, you would come back so unrecognizable that no one would know that it is you. So first things first, we have to check your screen time. The reason why this is really important is to know how to help yourself, because listen, if you don't know how long your screen time is, I'm sorry, we don't even know where to start from. The first thing I want you to do once you finish this video is I want you to hop onto your settings and find where you can check your screen time. If you have a 5 hours and below screen time, you're pretty normal. And then again, if your screen time is between 5 to 12 hours, you're kind of spending too much on your phone. And if your screen time is above 12 hours, I'm sorry, you're literally going to damage your eyes before the next 365 days. So the first step of disappearing and coming back stronger is you have to unhook yourself. I believe you must have heard the phrase hooked. Yeah, that exact same phrase that the social media gurus or the social media marketing gurus tell you on how to, hook people on your YouTube videos and make their retention span on your videos 10 hours long. That is great, but you have to do the opposite. Now, I know previously in one of my videos, I have talked about people who have the ADHD brain and people who have the non-ADHD brain. I can assure you, if you're currently watching this video and you're scrolling in the comment section or you're scrolling in the other video suggestion box, you're among the candidates of those who have the ADHD brain, and that is where we're going to have a problem right now. Now, I want you to do something for me. I want you to lock in this video, apply this video on a full screen, so you're not going to be distracted, you're not going to be reading the comments, and you're not going to be looking for a different video that has a more beautiful thumbnail that you're going to click on. If you cannot even unhook from YouTube, then how much more Instagram? Then how much more TikTok? You have to fight the addiction of consistently scrolling in the comment section. You have to break the shackles of consistently scrolling from one video to another. Now, let me ask you a question. What was the last TikTok you watched? What was the last meme you saw? Can you remember? Absolutely not. Because these things just fry your brain, and for 5 seconds, you've instantly forgotten about it. They add no value to your life. And ladies and gentlemen, listen, if you want to disappear and come back strong, you need to identify the root of the problem. You are addicted and you need to help yourself. Listen, if you're one of those guys who run a social media business and you just cannot get out of social media, it's fine. That one is different. As long as social media makes money for you, then fine and good. The goal has been hit. But if you're one of those who you just consistently consume without producing, my friend, you are in this trap and in this poison with a whole lot of other people. And you need to realize the earlier you save yourself, the better. And the more video you scroll and watch, the more difficult it is to escape. And then speaking of escape, I bring you to my second principle, which is monk mode. Now, this is a technique that can help you unhook yourself and escape from the shackles of the social media aimless scrolling of the algorithm. First things first, when it comes to monk mode, literally everyone has a way that they customize their monk mode technique. Iman Gadzhi talks about monk mode. Adonis Hamza also talks about monk mode, and some of these other online gurus out there. But specifically, I have customized my monk mode in a specific way in which I have focused on making you disciplined and giving you still a little bit of freedom. You need a surviving technique that gives you breathing space and yet does not neglect your disciplined routine. So this is my monk mode routine for you. First things first, there are 5 non-negotiables in my monk mode routine. So the first of them being 10 minutes of meditation, another one of them being 10 minutes also of physical workout. Then the next one is 1 hour of financial work. What I mean by financial work is any work that would put food on your table, or maybe it still hasn't started generating you income, but you know if you do it consistently for the next 2, 3, 4 months, it will start generating you some revenue and profit. Not more than 6 hours of screen time, in which it has a little bit of exception only if you make money from your phone. And I mean, even if you make money from your phone, fine, let the 6 hours be consistent work of you making money from your phone. And then the next non-negotiable is praying. Now this one has no time to it, okay? If you decide to pray for 5 hours, fine and good. Me specifically, for the fact that I am a Christian, so I pray almost every day, because the Bible says pray at all times in the spirit with all prayer and supplication. Listen to that. Pray at all times. And then these are my negotiables: no alcohol, no form of addiction, also no watching movies, in which, I mean, they are specifically my negotiables. You can decide to adjust them however you feel. Now, specifically for no watching, PORN, it is non-negotiable, okay? Kill it, cut it out. You don't need it in your life. And then also less internet conversation and more of physical conversations. One thing that helps me in my life is speaking to a person face to face, especially when it's of the opposite gender. If it's a woman that you really love, hey, come on, go talk to her. And then the next one is to delete social media if possible, except specifically you use it for work. And then also the next one is teach people what you know how to do best. That was what made me so intelligent and so brilliant, because I started teaching people things that I had interest in. Along the line, I learned the things more and more. And then finally, you can add any other thing that suits your perspective and personality, as long as it is going to help your growth. Now, just to be clear, I know I'm not still where I want to be, but I know that consistently putting one step in front of the other, I will get there someday. And that's why I challenge you, go ghosting, okay? Give yourself 6 months. No socials, no consistent communication. The friends in which think you're behind, they do not know that you're planning on getting a Lamborghini Aventador or maybe a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. They don't know that you're trying to get a Bugatti someday. So you need to put one leg in front of the other as an invisible human being. And ladies and gentlemen, in the next 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you see yourself crush your competitors like this. And then the third principle I have for you today is invest in your education. Now, you need to understand that life is all about financial literate and financial illiterate. There is literally money everywhere as long as you have properly educated yourself. There's this thing I have with school, in which a whole lot of you, if you've been following me for a very long time by now, you should have known I don't like school, okay? And I'm very vocal about it. I don't even hide it any longer, because I know in life you get ahead by applying, not just learning. The people who want to get A's in school, I literally know that that is not going to put $1 in my bank account. Everyone who follows the school system ends up being a worker. I want to be like the Warren Buffett, the Elon, the people who decided to do things differently for themselves, and they've made a difference at the end of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand that you are facing a war between you yourself being the financial literate and also the financial illiterate. And listen, the financial illiterate will obviously try to give you advice and tell you go to classes. If you want to go to classes, fine and good. The financial illiterate will tell you, hey, if you want to be rich, you have to get a 9-to-5 job. And if you want to get a 9-to-5 job, fine and good. You take myself as an example. I have a whole lot of people around me that I love and bless them, but none of them have made $1 million. So I am not going to listen to any of them when they teach me how to make $1 million. No, the first phase of your life in business is learn. Read financial books if you can, and listen to podcasts. Now, listen, This is where a whole lot of people could go wrong, because they read so many books thinking the more books you read, the more money you make. You don't make money by reading books. You make money by putting in the work in which you have learned. So you need to educate yourself properly on how to make money. But also, don't spend too much time reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. However, you can educate yourself if it is applying yourself under an experienced tutor, a person who specifically knows how to run a business, and learning specifically directly from him, being an apprentice for him for 6 months, you'd realize that you'd learn a lot for your life. But even if it's working under a random company, as long as you get the knowledge, where people could make the mistake right here is they go to the very expensive companies, the big companies, they go to these companies and they want to work under them. Yeah, I mean, it's cool, it's fine. But a company that has above 500 employees, you need to understand that you're obviously not going to learn anything in a company that has about 500 employees more. It is best to attach yourself to a company that doesn't really have so much employees, so when you're in your presence, you know you learn a lot and you get a whole lot of value to educate your financial life. And then the next principle I have for you is that you need to understand that 80% of your goal comes from timing. This is where a whole lot of people could go wrong. That moment when you want to work so much and become successful in the next 2 months. And listen, it is possible, but hey, if you've done everything you have done in your power, just give it more time, okay? Because at the end of the day, you cannot force time. And I would even tell you for myself, if you look at my success from my YouTube channel, I know I haven't really gone so far, but at the end of the day, majority of the success I made came through time, okay? So the moment you let things flow and you let them be, you're going to see better results. The fifth principle I have for you is mark out your rich priorities correctly. This is one thing specifically I love doing so much. I always ask myself, hey Sam, what is that one thing you've always wanted? You want to buy your mom a house, fine and good. You want to buy your dad his dream car. You want to buy yourself a Rolls Royce, because I've always wanted a Rolls Royce from day one. You want to help the poor. So these are more like my rich priorities. So I stack them according to their importance. There's something called scale of preference. What is the most important? Save souls, save a whole lot of poor people, buy your mom a house, buy your dad his dream car, buy yourself a Rolls Royce Phantom. These are more like at the top of the spectrum. So if I some way or sometime become a billionaire or maybe a multi-millionaire in my 20s, in which I know I am going to do, I mean, I'm obviously going to have some fun. And when your priorities have been set straight and have been set clear, you see yourself hitting them one after the other. Now, I don't want you to go having some crazy priorities like you want to become a millionaire or a billionaire in the next 2 years, or you want to meet Elon Musk in the next 6 months. And I'm saying this so politely and so respectfully. Unfortunately, you won't. If you stretch out the time, you see that things get better in your mind. Your priorities need to be set correctly. And if for any reason they are set wrongly, you're just going to see yourself doing a whole lot of rubbish. And then the sixth principle I have for you, in which would really help you before you disappear, is tell people your ambitions before you go ghosting. This is a very controversial one, in which a whole lot of people go and say, no, if you want to fail, tell people your goals. And I have said this 1,001 times. I don't believe in that. Specifically, I believe if you want to succeed, tell people your goals. So at that point in time, it keeps on ringing in your head that I have told this person that I'm going to become a millionaire at 23, 24, maybe even up to 25. And if I don't do it, I'm going to be embarrassed before the presence of that person. So it keeps on ringing in my head that I have to do it because people know that I have said that I will do it. And finally, if I end up doing it, it feels so good. Believe me, if you end up accomplishing your goals that you have told people that before you turn 25 you would become a millionaire, and I believe a whole lot of you have made these statements, a whole lot of you have told your grandma that before you turn 25 you're going to become so famous that she's not even going to recognize you. Listen, if you end up winning, it feels so good, and I want that to sink in. It feels so good if you end up winning, and I pray for you and I wish you well, and I really hope you achieve the secret battle that you are fighting that nobody else knows. And then the final one in which I have for you here is understanding good debt and bad debt. I'm not an American, but I know that the American system or the American government gives you an opportunity as a student to take student loans. The more loans you take, the more trouble you find yourself in. And I want you to understand this. If you're not careful, First, you borrow, and second, you beg. If you're one of those rich guys that have a credit card, you happen to have a credit card, then fine and good, make sure you have your credit card spendings wisely. If you're part of those that decide to borrow loans from the bank, then fine and good, make sure your loans are being borrowed for good reason. People borrow loans to finance some projects. People borrow loans to buy cars, and I just cannot understand how stupid that is. There are some tricks that people could use, in which I know I'm going to use some of these tricks. I see or I hear people borrow loans to buy cars. That could be very dangerous, but that could be a very smart move you can make. And let me explain how. A client that wants to buy a property from a real estate developer would rather buy a property from a guy who drives an AMG G63 compared to a guy who drives a Toyota Camry. Now, you need to understand that perspective or taste is always drawn towards luxury. If you're one of those guys who borrow money to buy vehicles because you're in the real estate sector and you believe the vehicle you bought will draw more clients to you, then fine. I'll be honest, that is a good debt, although that is very risky. But listen, this world is a world of the highest level of risk, and if you're not willing to take those risks, I'm sorry, you're not meant to be here. And ladies and gentlemen, if you put these 7 principles to practice and you disappear, I assure you, in the next 7 months, your friends would not even know who you are. Bye for now.